part of the Sumerian creation myth states, "At Karsag, where heaven and earth met, the heavenly assembly, the great sons of Anu, arrived, the many wise ones." The Anunnaki seem to have arrived from another land across the sea. They brought with them special knowledge, unknown to the previous inhabitants. It is said, mankind learned from the Shining Ones. They set things in order. We could ask why they felt they had to set things in order. Perhaps this order has something to do with the chaotic aftermath of a global calamity that had destroyed their homeland, according to the accounts. A flood, for instance, that appears in myths across the world. In the famous Sumerian kings list, we are told that the Anunnaki ruled in Sumeria, both before and after the deluge, and that it was after the deluge that they then set kings on the throne to govern the land and rule in their stead. However, if we are to believe the accounts given of the fish beings, we are also told that these Shining Ones had first come ashore from their submerged land after a similar catastrophe, an earlier one than the deluge related in the Bible and other sources. Could these great global flood disasters in fact be bringing together tales of a much earlier flood, and so scientists are searching for the wrong period? It's possible that the Shining Ones knew when these catastrophic events were going to happen and had predicted the deluge, hence Noah being warned to prepare for the event. This theory is supported by the information encoded in various sources, which lead us to the symbol of the Ouroboros snake and its deeper meaning. It is as if, again, these people had profound knowledge of cycles, and in particular the 25,800-year precessional cycle, which was believed to have begun with the tilting of the Earth from its upright position. It would appear that it was believed that these recurring catastrophes were linked to the beginning and end point of the precessional cycle, linked to the very event that caused the Earth to incline in the first place. This does not necessarily prove that the Earth's axis was once upright. However, it does mean that it was believed the axis was vertical, and thus revealing an amazing knowledge of the heavens and Earth's place in it. There is evidence that the ecliptic centre was the abode of the Father God, as this was actually named Anu, as well as the Eye of Ra by the ancient Egyptians. Also, the ancient astronomers of these Shining Ones must have believed that the precessional cycle was linked with the Earth's own life cycle, or reincarnation cycle, and so the Earth, being upright, would bring a more harmonious and balanced existence. No more global catastrophes, and no birth, death, rebirth cycle. In other words, the earth, like the spiritual man who seeks to come off and out of the reincarnational cycle, and all cycles for that matter, would have been seen to be in the perfect position and the perfect spiritual condition. We also find that these people are also termed Igigi, which was also the name of the king after the flood. The Igigi in certain texts seem to do the work of the Anunnaki, whereas in others they are equal and spoken of in the same breath. In the Epic of Anzu, the Igigi are superior in the sense that the Anunnaki are of the Abzu, or the deep. This, of course, must remind us of the Hindu ideas of the Naga, serpent deities who reside in the deep, and are no less holy for it. In the Sumerian account, Ninlil, or Ninkarsag, Lady of Karsag, the wife of the leader Enlil, asked the Council of Seven to create her an Eden. This is the very same Eden, or plateau, as in the Bible myth, and the Council of Seven is the same as the seven archangels, or messengers of the Bible, who came down from heaven, or the mountain, or cosmic sky. Sumerians referred to Eden as the abode of the righteous ones. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge that stood in this Garden of Eden are the secrets of the Shining Ones. Secrets which will stay with them for thousands of years, to be told only to the highest shaman, adept, priest, avatar or prophet. In their dreamlike trances, the shamans saw and experienced the tree which took them to heaven, and which later became the tree of life in the Hebrew Kabbalah system. And, as if reflecting the 7 chakra levels of the human spinal column, and the processes involved with one's own access to the knowledge within, the Sumerians built their towers or ziggurats with 7 levels, as attempts to build closer to heaven, to be like the mountains, and link them with the earth, as in the dream of Jacob's ladder. It is said that these shining deities also lived at the top of the ziggurat or pyramid, the great house. We now know what the ladder and these temples really stand for symbolically, but was Jacob's ladder a similar construction somewhere in the Near East? Jacob was in fact the father of the 12 tribes, and as such, the father of the zodiac. Reuben, Jacob's first son, was Aquarius, hence the reason he was unstable as water. Simeon and Levi were the brothers, and hence Gemini. Judah is the lion, and Zebulum is Libra, the ship. Gad is Pisces, in that it is a reversal of the fish serpent god Dag, associated with Dagon, Oannes, Ea and Henki. Dan was of the tribe of serpents, an adder in the path, who falleth backward into the winter solstice, which means he is Capricorn. This is the same as the later Daniel, again the shining serpent Capricorn, who traverses the heavens. We can now see that most of these myths and stories are mere transliterations of astro-theological ideologies associated with the zodiac, and also the precessional cycle, which can be used as means to find relevant periods in history. The precessional cycle is intimately tied in with our own life cycle, and so we find that many of these epithets given to individuals in history who may or may not have existed are really part of a code. This shows that the later leaders and their priesthoods, who were spiritual and godly, and also knowledgeable in astronomy, were related to the Shining One sect, and even received their knowledge and authority from the Shining Ones. They associated the Shining Ones with the solar and celestial bodies, which they studied. The 7 Shining Ones, or 7 sages of different cultures, later became the gods, in men, incarnated as man, only then to be reunited with the Father God after death. This is basically the Christian myth. It is the celestial bodies being written down in human form, a pantheon of 7 and corresponding with the 7 planets in the heavens. The phrase, "where heaven and earth met," is symbolic of the sacred mountains, and this gives us the clue that this could be somewhere with impressive heaven-like mountains, such as Tibet, perhaps even the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, or even the pyramids of Giza. Seeing as these temple constructions are based on the shamanic world mountain, we can see then that many of the details included in the stories related to the activities of these Shining Ones are really based on these astro-theological movements, which they understood to a great degree, and have been encoded in these myths and stories as a means to preserve this knowledge and also convey this process to those who could understand it.